Hey everyone, welcome to Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast. This podcast is all about farmers markets, how to increase your market business success while providing people with fresh food. Farmers markets are essential. Whether you're a farmers market manager or a small farmer or food maker selling at farmers markets, you have found just the right podcast. This week, our guest is Lauren Wood, director of the Fresh MARTA Market, a pop-up farm stand that sources produce from local farms and brings them to 5 MARTA public transportation stations in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm one of your hosts, Bridget Myers. I'm a longtime farmers market manager, Vendor 101 co-teacher, and education coordinator at Farmers Market Pros.
And I'm Kat Fields-White, Director of San Diego Markets, still an active Farmers Market Manager and a consultant, founder of Farmers Market Pros and host of Intense, the Farmers Market Conference, and the Farmers Market Pros community.
And I'm Justine Marzoni-Mead, Tent Talk producer, marketing director for Farmers Market Pros, and logistics coordinator for Intense, the Farmers Market Conference, coming right up, just a couple months away, March 7th through 9th in San Diego, California.
Back live and in person, and also online. So there is that virtual ticket option, but we're going to be together again after a virtual conference in 2021, so we're excited about that.
We're ready for you.
Mm-hmm. Go register. Quick. Early bird is when this is broadcast, early bird pricing is still in effect, correct?
For like 7 more days.
Okay. You got a minute.
Yeah, get on that.
Go sign up. Today's episode of Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast, is supported by the Farmers Market Coalition, working with farmers market operators and state networks throughout the U.S. Farmers Market Coalition creates a hub for informational resources and a voice to promote policies that help farmers markets create financial sustainability for small farmers and increase access to fresh food in communities nationwide. They partner with the Farmers Market Pros to present the Farmers Market Coalition sessions at our annual Intense, the Farmers Market Conference, providing invaluable updates on nutrition incentive programs, the Farm Bill, and more. Click the Farmers Market Coalition link on the resource page at farmersmarketpros.com and join today.
Well, welcome back to Tent Talk, everybody. Today we are talking with Lauren Wood, director of the Fresh MARTA Market, which is operated by Community Farmers Markets in Atlanta, Georgia. Lauren oversees the pop-up farm stand that takes place in 5 MARTA public transportation stations and brings farm fresh produce and local groceries to the public. Welcome, Lauren.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here.
We're so happy to talk to you. So just give us a little background, like your personal and professional background and what led you to get involved with farmers markets.
Sure. I always say that my journey into food systems work was purely accidental. But it really kind of started with my own personal wellness journey. And so earlier in the 2000s, I guess we refer to them, both of my parents were diagnosed with diabetes about a year apart from one another. And, my mother had to be hospitalized initially. And so that situation led really everyone in my family to start to reevaluate our own health and our own diet habits. And so I just really became interested in trying to help them kind of, care for themselves. I did it for myself as well. And so that's when I kind of got interested in, local food, fresh produce, cooking more for myself, and just paying more attention to what I put into my body. And so maybe a year or so after that, I had taken some time off from where I was on sabbatical. I had gone back to school and just finished up with my degree and was just looking for an easy part-time job. And a friend of mine said, hey, I know someone who needs help with their farmers market. Would you be willing to, work there? And I said, actually, that sounds perfect. And it was the Fresh MARTA Market. And that was in 2016. And yeah, pretty much have been doing that ever since. I started as just an associate, just a staff, working the markets every day at the different stations, and just kind of gradually grew to take more responsibility. Became the manager in 2018. And then as you took some time off and then have been back with the market since 2020 as the program director.
Wow,
Awesome.
That seems like kind of like a straight shot.
Yeah, that's good. And I know a number of people who are in the farmers markets kind of industry because of a personal health journey.
Yeah.
And I think that gives you such dedication, and it makes it so easy for you to relate, oftentimes, especially to new customers who haven't been farmers market regulars, and kind of share your journey and understand where they're coming from in terms of just kind of stepping their toe into the water of being conscious about what they're eating.
Precisely. And I think that was what was so enjoyable to me and why I just, have stuck with it. Since then, I really appreciated being able to share my own story and relate to other people who were also just wanting to make more conscious, food choices. And I mean, people every day, are kind of wanting to make that change and wanting to learn more. And so, I just really love it and dove in, and I'm still here.
That's great.
That's awesome.
It's a nice way to like a lifelong career that you can be involved in, because it'll keep like that wellness consciousness kind of top of mind if that's where your career is.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like about working in the farmers markets is it's like, well, I'm going to stay healthy. It's like if you're a fitness instructor or something, it's like, it's your life. So, so you took a year managing this the statewide programming for the Food Oasis program at Georgia Organics. What was that role like? What were you doing there?
It was a little different, and in the early years of when I was working with the Fresh MARTA Market, I really became interested in the growers, and just kind of learning more about their experience, the challenges that they faced, and just the way that they navigated, through the food system. And the position with Georgia Organics was more of a direct line to communicating with the growers and various producers, and particularly in the state of Georgia. And so it was a lot of fun. It was an education. I really kind of got to see a bird's eye view of what it looks like to manage a farm, manage production, to that scale, and just the different pressures that exist for farmers and local growers. And it was an excellent education. I found that I really missed the energy of the farmers market. And I also found that I might just be a little bit more successful and actually have more of a passion for dealing directly with the community and finding a different way to support the growers and, the farmers. And so it was great. I really appreciated just kind of being in that container, being able to manage a community outreach program in that way. And I really got to travel all over the state of Georgia and meet really cool people who were doing really, really awesome work. But I really missed the market. And I found that I felt that what I was doing, my skills, my talents and experience would be more impactful working in the community, working behind the scenes of a farmer's market. So that's kind of how I ended up coming back to the Fresh MARTA.
Yeah. And again, that's an experience that gives you so much insight when you're working with farmers and things at the farmers market level. We love it when we have a staff member that's had some experience direct at a farm with a farmer, interaction with, and understands just how hard those farmers work to get their
really
food
hard.
to market and what kind of things are working against them, from weather to policies.
It gives you such a great, such a great perspective, I think, and just helps you to be a better manager. It's just like part of that continuing education to be a great manager is to learn about that farm side.
For sure.
So,
and I'm sure now at the market too, just like having seen all of the state of Georgia and seen, what is grown in different places, or just kind of having an understanding of just the agricultural potential of where you live is like really helpful too. Here in San Diego, we manage a really big market where we have we have farmers coming from the Central Coast. We have them coming from out in like Palm Springs, from all over. And I'm sure just if I was better at geography of my own state, I would probably be able to relate to my farmers more.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to talk about geography challenges on my team.
Show me a map.
There we go again. Both of them, I guess. So were you at community markets when the Fresh MARTA Market started? Were you part of the whole launch of that operation, or were they already underway when you joined them?
The Fresh MARTA Markets had a pilot season. So in 2015 is when they piloted the Fresh MARTA Market, and it was actually a brainchild of MARTA. MARTA, I think MARTA had noticed that there would be, just some kind of random individual vendors who might set up outside of some of the train stations. And, people were really interested in what they were selling. There was watermelons, tomatoes, things like that. So I think they had the idea of, hey, this seems to be something our passengers want. Let's see if we can give it to them. And so that in 2015, they did the pilot. It was just at one location. In 2016, which is when I joined, is when they kind of kicked off the program full force. And so we had our extended season and we expanded to 3 additional locations. So I came in not at the beginning, but shortly after.
Pretty close.
Right after the pilot, yeah.
Well, it's admirable that MARTA actually kind of pushed forward on this as opposed to you having to go pitch them. Are the markets at train stations or bus stations or both?
They are at train stations.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, and that just seems like so perfect. You've got a little bit of a captive audience there, and they're especially on the way home from work. Do you see sales being higher maybe in the morning or the afternoon?
Our sales usually, we have the most traffic in the first 2 hours of the market. So between 3 and 5. Yeah, between
3 and 5. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So our markets operate from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Like I said, biggest influx. Sometimes there are even people waiting for us to open. Like there's a line waiting for us to open when we get there at 3 o'clock. But that's when we have our largest kind of influx of customers. I've heard many times, and we're exploring the possibility of possibly having the market open for a few hours in the morning and a few hours in the afternoon. Folks that work overnight, folks that, get up early in the morning and don't have time to stop, or maybe by the time they get off work, we're closed. They kind of have communicated to us that they want an opportunity to shop at the markets too. But right now, 3 to 7, and it does seem to be a sweet spot for most people when they're getting off of work, getting home from school, just kind of towards those evening hours. It does seem to be, it seems to work for our customers.
I mean, what a terrific convenience to be able to pick up fresh food on the way home. Probably saves, what we fight against when we're selling fresh food, obviously, is the convenience of fast food.
Yeah.
And fast food has a lot of other issues about how we subsidize it with our taxes, and that's what creates that convenience, but not much health. It would be great if we had healthy fast food, but what's the healthiest fast food you can get? Fresh produce. So that makes it easier.
Like if say you're on your way home and you're like, okay, I want to go to the grocery store. Chances are that's not going to be on your direct route home. You're going to have to transfer trains, or you're going to have to get off and walk for a little while. Or you're going to have to take a bus after a train. And if it's right there, it would be so helpful. It just seems
like it'd be such an attraction.
The convenience is something that we hear is the biggest selling point of the fresh market. It's like, I've got 5 minutes between, my layover when I'm getting off the train and getting onto the bus. I need some apples. I need an avocado. I need some greens. I can grab it right here. So convenience and definitely affordability, are the two kind of.
So are the markets in sort of a retail storefront inside the stations, or are they right out there? Are they outdoors, more like a regular farmer's market on the platforms? How are they positioned?
So 2 of our markets are actually just located just outside of the fair gates. And so that means that you don't necessarily have to be riding MARTA to visit our markets. Oh, good. The rest of them are inside of the station. And, generally that means you have to be using the system to visit our markets. So. Yeah. Okay. So I can see the pluses and minuses there. If you're just switching trains and you're not going to go back into the station, handy to have it on the platform. But good point that if they're outside the fair or the token stand, that it will also let the community members get to it. That's it. And it's a semi-permanent fixed stand, so it's really cool. We actually worked with a architecture firm to actually design the stands. They live at the MARTA station, so they stay there year round. And they're really cool. They're about 6 feet by 8 feet wide. They've got wheels so we can move them around. They've got shelves inside. That's how we display all of our produce. Checkout counters, storage space in the back. And so it's kind of a self-contained little retail outlet. Yeah. That's wonderful. So they're open one day a week at each station, is that right? 1 day per week. And we operate Tuesday through Friday. Has there been any discussion of making them more of a everyday thing at each station, as like a full-time sort of produce mart right there at each station? And is that a bandwidth thing in terms of staff capacity? Precisely. I think that's the major hurdle. But yeah, every year we talk about how can we expand? How can we make this permanent? And so it's something we're still figuring out. Right now, we are working to just add as many locations as we can. So we've got 5 right now. In 2022, we're going to open up at 2 additional MARTA stations on the east side of the city for the first time. And then we're going to be up in the northern suburbs where there is a transit hub. And so not only is there a train station, there's bus routes, and there's also commuter buses that bring people in from different counties who work in the city of Atlanta. And so we're excited about that because it's going to give us a chance to reach thousands more people, per year, potentially. So we're really excited about that. The other ideas for expansion that we've had include definitely a retail, kind of brick and mortar. And we've been working with MARTA's transit-oriented development department to kind of think that through, but it may still be a couple of years off. But we are exploring the idea and hope to launch by 2023 a mobile market. And so we'll basically be outfitting an old MARTA bus, hopefully. That's kind of the idea.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's right.
Yeah, and we'll be able to kind of travel, on different days, take that bus into different areas of the city where the MARTA doesn't go, or where we don't have, a train station, and hopefully serve those communities as well. So
yeah, that's wonderful. And what's the reason that it's a seasonal market?
Well, starting in 2021, we became a year-round market.
Oh, you are year-round now. Okay, great, cool. I thought I saw something on the MARTA site that your season was wrapping up in December at the various markets. Maybe they just mean it's taking a little break in the holidays or something.
Exactly. We'll be changing that information soon because we piloted our winter market January, February, and March of 2021, and have decided that we're going to bring it back in 2022. So right now, our regular season, which we call the regular season, spring, summer, fall months. So that regular season for 2021 is winding down. We're going to end mid-December, going to break for the holiday, and then open up our winter season the end of January.
Great.
Oh, that's really good. Kind of like a 4-week break.
Yeah.
But after that, we're going all year.
Cool. So that's reasonable. Yeah. It would be a shame to get people in the habit of knowing that they could pick up that produce and then, drop them off for the season, have to resell them again. Yeah. Are you purchasing all the products from the farmers and vendors at the community farmers markets? Or I think I've read that you're going to a variety of sources. It's not necessarily all local. Is that true?
Yeah, we do. We kind of have a tiered approach to sourcing produce for the Fresh MARTA markets. It starts with what we call our hyper local farmers. And those are farmers that are right here in the city of Atlanta and in the metro area. So we source getting up to about 40% of our food from them. And then we work with larger kind of food hubs, food aggregators, such as Common Market, Southeast, Fresh Point we've worked with, just to kind of source some of local foods that are not necessarily plentiful or that are kind of harder to get from our hyper-local folks. And so we've got those local suppliers. And then we actually go to our state farmers market to source some of the more non-local staples that people like to have in their house: bananas, avocados, citrus fruits, things like that. And so we're working at about, like I said, it's really about even for what we have available at our markets. We try to distribute it so that we've got a nice selection every week for our customers.
Right, but so maybe close to half local.
I would say probably closer to half, maybe 60% local produce.
Right, and for folks that aren't familiar with the term state farmers market, which I know from Georgia and also from Alabama and some other states back there, those are actual they're kind of wholesale produce hubs. So that's not a farmer's market in the way our farmer's market community thinks of them, since we run, farmer's markets that are producer only. It is where all the produce comes in, some of it straight from farmers, some from brokers and distributors, and the various grocery stores and things go there to pick up their produce and buy it from whoever's distributing it. For the hyper-local stuff that you're buying from the farmers that also participate at farmers markets, are you buying from them retail or wholesale? Are they giving it to you on consignment, or how's that going?
It's wholesale. We purchase from them on a weekly basis, wholesale. We definitely share the mission of the Fresh MARTA Market, which is, convenience and affordability. And so our farmers are, generally really happy to negotiate pricing with us so that we can also keep our price point reasonable for our customers, but we buy from them wholesale, we negotiate with them, and essentially we let them name the price. And it's pretty cool. We're able to subsidize the local produce a bit with the food that we get from our state farmers market, which we can just put a slightly higher, margin on, still keep it affordable, but it really helps us to have with the breadth of offerings that we have at our farmers markets for local produce.
Gotcha. And are the MARTA farm stands self-sustaining? Do you make enough margin to cover staffing and all that? Or do you have grant funding or some other kind of funding subsidized, maybe a subsidy from MARTA?
So we are largely grant funded, which is really helpful, to be honest, because no one has ever gotten rich from selling fruits and vegetables.
That's true. Sorry, farmers. True that.
Sorry, guys. It's, we receive grant funding from the USDA, which allows us to operate. The only thing that we cannot use those grant funds for, though, believe it or not, is produce. And so we are.
You can't see me, listeners, but I'm shaking my head.
But we do well enough that we kind of break even every week so that we can use the proceeds from the food that we sell to buy produce.
To actually buy the produce. And then you're grant funded in terms of marketing and staffing and all those good things.
All those operational costs we're able to get taken care of through the grant funding. But we've been very, very fortunate that we break even pretty much, and past couple of years have even had a bit of a profit. So.
Oh, that's great. Well, that's good to know. Is marketing different for those markets than for a regular farmer's market, since you're dealing with people that are already at the transportation hubs? Do you not have to do much outreach in terms of letting people know that you're there?
We definitely still have to do outreach, and we take that very seriously because we want the community to know that we're there, and we want the community to know that we're there for them. So we have a partner, actually, one of our partners, Open Hand Atlanta, helps us with our advertising and marketing costs. They kind of do that for us because they believe in the project. We worked together with them for years. So they help us to advertise actually along the MARTA system and around the city. Flyers, all kinds of little things they help us to advertise. But most of the promotion that we do really is on the MARTA system.
Oh, that's great. So smart. Yeah. So like the billboards that are on the trains.
Billboards, all that stuff. Yeah.
Perfect. That makes so much sense.
That's
it sounds like you've got really amazing corporate support there. I mean, just in terms of MARTA.
It sounds like such a good partnership.
Yeah, such a good partnership.
Like it's actually working.
Yeah, it's an amazing network of partners who are enthusiastic and passionate about this project, are passionate about local food, and, really respond to the community. The market is very popular in all the communities where they're located, and they depend on us to be there. We have become, a vital community resource. And I think there's just a deep recognition of that. And, because of that, all of our partners do everything that they can to make sure that we can operate.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I'm sure this is a little bit like asking you about your favorite child. And as a mom and a grandma, I know you can't admit that, but do you have a favorite market? Do you have a favorite MARTA market?
Oh, my goodness. They all have their own personalities.
There you go. Exactly what I say.
But whose personality do you like more?
I will say that the College Park Market location was the first one that I worked. And that continues to hold a special place.
And that's a busy station.
It is a very busy station. It's the stop right before the airport. That College Park downtown area has just been bustling and has been so developed over the years. So there's so much activity, so many more people there. And so, it's just really fun. I think that station, for me, I can kind of see the growth of the market along with the growth of the surrounding community. I really like it. And it's my favorite one. And I will say, just because it's the first one that I worked at.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's something about Oh, I can't say that. My second child's sitting next to me. There's something about your first.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
Just kidding. We always say that about cities that we visit, though, that will happen to land in a particular neighborhood in a city. And then even though we may find other neighborhoods that are charming and things, there's something about your first introduction to a place.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you just get attached to. That first restaurant you ate in a new city, you're always going to go back there.
I'm going to go back there, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, Lauren, do you have any advice for market managers who are looking to partner with? I know that this program existed before you were a market manager there, but if you have any advice for market managers who are looking to partner with a local transportation service or some sort of other like municipal group or something like that, I'm sure, there's eccentricities of working at this particular project. So what would you tell another market manager who's interested in doing something similar?
I would say that buy-in is so important from the beginning. And so really focusing on the messaging and the mission, behind what you're proposing. Because, it might look like it's easy to do a farmer's market, but it's really not. There's a lot of components. And so I would also say, be realistic about what you can do in the beginning and don't be afraid to start small. With the Fresh MARTA Market, they started with just one station, one vendor, once a week. And it's grown now we are 7 locations. We are up to almost 20 vendors 4 days a week. And so I think that in the beginning, it's important to be realistic and to understand that it is okay to just go one step at a time and start small.
Yeah. That's
really
very
good
sound advice
yeah.
for anything having to do with big things like food access or public transportation or, these are, really big things that you just got to start mini.
Small bites.
Yeah.
Small bites.
Exactly. And also understanding if you do want to partner with, a transit agency or, kind of a larger, city agency, those institutions usually have a lot of red tape, lots of bureaucracy. Building relationships is also important as well. But yeah, just understanding that from the beginning and being patient and being okay with starting small, I think you will be able to see your successes right away, and it will help motivate you and kind of help you stay the course.
Totally makes sense.
So the Fresh MARTA Market, that is connected to community farmers markets. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes. It's the Fresh MARTA Market is essentially a food access project. And so it's kind of one program of community farmers markets, which operates several traditional farmers markets around the city. So community farmers markets is kind of the local expert, farmers markets in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And so the Fresh MARTA Market is just one program.
Great. And I was looking at your Instagram, and you can use your EBT at the Fresh MARTA Market. Is that correct?
Yes, we actually accept SNAP or EBT, formerly known as food stamps.
Mm-hmm.
But the really cool thing is that through a partnership with Wholesale Georgia, we're actually able to offer a 2-for-1 incentive. And so if a customer comes and they're paying with their SNAP benefits, if they're swiping for $10, they actually have $20 to spend at the Fresh MARTA Market. And that actually goes for all of the CFM markets.
That's so awesome.
We love Wholesome Wave. That's such an amazing organization.
Mm-hmm. And so just logistically, when you're at the Fresh MARTA Market, are you using the same, say I wanted to go to a community farmers market on Saturday, and then on my way home from work on Tuesday, I stop at the Fresh MARTA Market. Could I use the same tokens from the regular farmers markets at the MARTA stands? Or is it a different system?
It's a different system. We don't have a token system. Yeah, at those traditional markets, you pretty much tell a staff member how much you want to spend. You swipe your EBT right there, and then they give you the tokens. And that's how you can shop with your different vendors. At the Fresh MARTA Market, it's just direct POS. We actually have a POS system that we can accept.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because it's just a central checkout. Because it's not,
it's like a little mini, like a
grocery
shop.
store.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Lauren, have you worked with community farmers markets? Have you worked at the more traditional farmers market with the organization? Have you been there with all the farm stands and vendor stands and things as well? Or have you always been in the MARTA division?
I've always been at the MARTA station. I've visited several traditional markets because they're wonderful and very popular. And I worked a little bit in the beginning of the pandemic. We kind of piloted an online shop, which was really fun. People got to make their orders online, and I was helping with fulfilling. So I got really familiar with all of the different vendors that were coming to the markets. But I've not worked them. I've only visited.
Gotcha. But are you involved then in arranging to connect with the farmers from the farmers markets to buy the produce for the MARTA station markets?
I am. And there's definitely a lot of overlap. So, some of the farms that we buy from for the Fresh MARTA Market also come and vend at our traditional markets. But the Fresh MARTA Market also has a good number of local farms and growers that we work with exclusively. So they're
interesting.
Not connected to any of the other CFM markets. They just sell to the Fresh MARTA markets.
So what kind of support systems do the MARTA markets get from the Community Fresh organization?
The Community Farmers Market?
Yeah, Community Farmers Market, sorry.
All the support, to be honest.
Gotcha.
Volunteers, which are vital. Volunteers are so welcome, so helpful, so fun. It's lovely to have that energy. And so we share kind of a volunteer pool. All of our administrative work is supported by, there's a fair number of reporting and tracking that we do for all of our markets. All that's made possible from the support of the community farmers markets. And I'm an employee, I'm essentially a nonprofit staff member, directing this project. But Community Farmers Markets is a wonderful, wonderful organization full of talented, passionate people who really are laser focused on connecting local food to local communities. And so that is such an awesome environment to work in. So even just morale, ideas, we brainstorm together, we struggle together, just in a meeting with all of our directors, and we're just excited about the end of the year and excited about talking about plans for 2022. And so there's always so much energy and activity happening. And yeah, they are super supportive of myself and the Fresh MARTA Market and our whole team. And I'm supremely grateful to be associated with them.
Aww, that sounds like such a great organization with just really awesome mission. And I'm just so impressed that y'all pulled off something like connecting with local transportation. I mean, here in San Diego, our local transportation it's hard to connect with.
Yeah, and we're not really a commuter city that much in terms of public transportation. I mean, sorry, MTS, but our public transportation is not robust.
I think that's what is unique about Atlanta, because the MARTA is so heavily used, and it's been interesting since the pandemic. I believe their ridership is down 65%. But that's still, quite a few people use the MARTA. It's a bustling city, especially the downtown area, super walkable. And so, the fact that MARTA is so heavily used, I think, helps contribute to us being visible and, being able to get the word out.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's more of, what you see in Philly with SEPTA and what you see in DC. And so towns that have kind of a more vibrant, where DC?
I'm from Philly, so I
from Philly.
grew up riding SEPTA, and then my mom is from DC, and so I lived in DC for a while and used the metro system, which is my favorite public transportation system in the country.
Yeah, DC is like European systems. It's really it's amazingly efficient and well run and clean stations and just terrific. But so I would think that in a town like Philly or in I don't know if Grove, New York City has public transportation markets, but I think they don't.
I feel like San Francisco could do this with Muni and
San
BART.
Francisco with BART and that kind of thing. If you've got a strong commuter system, this just seems like such a good idea. Such a way to compete with the convenience of not so healthy food.
Well, I think that, Lauren, you have a future in partnerships between farmers markets and public transportation. You have my vote.
That's right. Good. Show us how it's done.
National consultant.
Perfect. It was really nice talking to you today.
It was great talking to you all. This was my first experience on a podcast, and I love talking about the Fresh MARTA Market and about food access and local food. Wow, this was way fun. I didn't be nervous at all.
You did not come off nervous at all. You're great at telling the story. I think you're a natural for podcasts. I would advise MARTA to put you on the road and spread the word.
Yeah, it's a great marketing. Yeah.
Great radio voice.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, no, you don't want to do that. She's saying no. Back up.
Well, you're good at what you're doing now.
You're good
so
at what you're
that's
doing
good.
right now. But it's nice of you to spread the word. We really appreciate the insights to this program because I think in certain kinds of cities would be just brilliant.
Yeah,
this
sure.
idea should spread.
We've been in conversation with South Carolina in particular about, kind of helping them think through a similar partnership.
That's great.
I don't have too many details about it, but I think that's something that we're shooting for, especially in 2022 and beyond, is creating a model, a blueprint that we can share and that can be replicated in other cities. So that's kind of the next iteration.
I'm seeing an Intense Conference 2023 session coming together right now. So we'll be in touch.
Let's talk about it, guys.
For sure.
Make it happen.
Make it happen.
Awesome.
Thanks so
Thank
much
you
for
so
being
much.
with us, Lauren. Thanks for your time.
Thank you all. Have
Really
a good one.
nice.
Have a great holiday.
Meeting
Yeah,
you
you
electronically.
too.
Same to you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Tent Talk today, and big thanks to Farmers Market Coalition for promoting the interests of market operators, small farmers, and consumers, and for supporting Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast, and Intense, the Farmers Market Conference. Click the Farmers Market Coalition logo on the resource page at farmersmarketpros.com to join today.
Farmers markets are all about connection, and all of us, operators, farmers, and vendors, keep learning. Join us and your fellow market participants at the 6th Annual Intense, the Farmers Market Conference in San Diego, California on March 7th, 8th, and 9th, 2022 to grow your market and your community. Connect with people just like you from various parts of the country and share what's happening in your area in the terrific conversations over in our private Facebook group, the Farmers Market Pros Community. You can also message us on Instagram at Farmers Market Pros or email us at connect@farmersmarketpros.com. Thanks for listening to Tent Talk. Please leave us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you access your podcast, and tell us and others how you're enjoying Tent Talk. If you are listening on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss the next episode. Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast, is proudly produced by Farmers Market Pros, where passion meets profit. Today's episode was recorded and edited by Justine Marzoni-Mead. Original music by David Mead. Thank you so much for listening today, and we'll have another great episode next week. Tune in.